Omicron cases are declining, and right now the CDC says it's cautiously optimistic about the trajectory of the pandemic in the U.S. In a briefing yesterday, officials signaled coming changes in public health guidance. Here's Jeffrey Zients, coordinator of the White House coronavirus response.
As a result of all this progress and the tools we now have, we're moving toward a time when COVID isn't a crisis, but is something we can protect against and treat. The president and our COVID team are actively planning for this future.
All right, getting to the future, though, poses a political test for the Biden administration. Here to talk more about this, we're joined by NPR senior political editor and correspondent Domenico Montanaro. All right, talk us through this for a moment. What's the context for the Biden administration to look ahead at the pandemic's next phase?
Well, they're looking at the trend lines of cases and deaths. They're declining following the Omicron surge, but there are lots of people still dying, mostly people who are unvaccinated. Public polling, though, shows people are really frustrated, and for as many people who see the virus as a threat, about an equal number or more say they're ready to move on. Democratic-led states have been announcing the end to mask mandates, and most states already have done so or laid out when they will be. Biden said on NBC last week that he thought those moves were premature, but it's clear that his administration now is planning for similar moves to the governors.
Yeah, a number of public health experts have been talking about this pivot. What might the Biden administration be hearing?
Well, I spoke with Zeke Emanuel, who's a doctor and University of Pennsylvania professor who's advised administrations on healthcare, including this one. And first, he said he agreed with Biden that the recent moves to get rid of indoor mask mandates were premature. He said there's a difference between improving and improved. He's basing that on metrics, he said, like the 10,000 people a week who are still dying from COVID and the lack of space in many hospitals across the country. But he was critical of how the administration has been communicating and said it really needs to be more coherent and transparent about the data it's using. That way people can make their own sort of, see what the roadmap is and see how they would be able to get back to something that does resemble normal.
The public wants to know you're not just freelancing it, that you're really following important metrics that are meaningful, and you have thresholds so that people understand these are very well-informed decisions, and they themselves can look at the data.
Yeah, he said that the communication around COVID really from the start's been less than optimal, and that public health and communication go hand in hand, and that it's not an add-on,
Okay, what's the political challenge President Biden faces here?
It's tricky because, like with the mask mandate decisions, the actual policies are often not coming from the White House itself. Where it leads is on guidance and communication. I also talked to Kathleen Sebelius, who's someone who understands this intersection between Washington and being a governor. She was a former health secretary for under President Obama and his administration, and was governor of Kansas before that. She really stressed that people are tired with the pandemic. It's going on 2 years now, and that's especially true, she said, interestingly, of those who've been following the rules all along and see others who haven't been just walking around. She pointed out that in the upcoming State of the Union, that's a place where President Biden can and should reshape how people should think about the pandemic in the next year.
You don't have to do a fly into the aircraft carrier and your jumpsuit mission accomplished kind of speech. But I do think people need hope, and they need a sense that the summer of 2022 will be better.
Yeah, of course, a reference there to former President George W. Bush and the Iraq War. Biden has to be somewhat cautious here, thread a bit of a needle, because while people are anxious to move on and open up and go out, he was already burned last summer when he signaled the country was closer to declaring independence from the virus, but that was, of course, before Delta and then Omicron.
That's NPR's Domenico Montanaro. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.